Adelaide Zoo is really well known in the zoo industry as a conservation organisation, and they do quite extraordinary work, but you wouldn't necessarily know that if you were just a visitor to the zoo. So when the zoo started to envisage how to become a 21st century zoo, they really looked at how to flip what they do very well on the inside to the outside and start to blur the boundaries between what is education and research focused to what is publicly accessible for people. We started to look at opportunities for readdressing their entrance precinct and the way that you enter the zoo, but also the way the zoo connects with the city itself. So instead of a palisade fence, they started looking at having transparent fences so that you could actually, if you were just walking past, you could look through and see what was happening on the inside of the zoo, which is quite exciting and challenging, obviously, for an institution. They also looked at trying to talk to people before they'd even entered the zoo proper. So what they did is a bold move where they actually gifted back 2,000 square metres to public space. Now people can actually come and gather at the zoo, they can walk through it, they can walk past it, and they can see what's happening at the zoo without actually paying to come in. That concept is called a free zone concept, and the idea is that the zoo operates outside its boundaries. We were working with the zoo on developing a framework plan, and that was looking at their assets and the site and how to move this zoo into being a 21st century organisation, when we were lucky enough to discover that the zoo was successful in being the host to 2 giant panda bears. This is the first time giant pandas have ever come to the southern hemisphere before to be housed permanently, and that was quite the challenge for us as a design team to learn about how the pandas need to be housed and what the viewing requirements for those panda bears would be, given that this was a unique experience. So we went on a study tour to the States with Adelaide Zoo, and we looked at the 4 exhibits in the States that currently have panda bears, and we really started to understand some of the parameters around not just the behavioural requirements of the panda bears, but the impact that having panda bears would have on the operation of the rest of the zoo. The increase in visitors was a really important one, and that established some further criteria for the redevelopment of Adelaide Zoo, such as the entrance precinct that we're standing in now. And then the giant pandas, they get an enormous amount of space to call their home. They've both got air-conditioned facilities, they've got external spaces, and then they've got a very large holding building where they go in the evenings. We know that there's probably less than 1,000 in the wild, and there's only 7 zoos in the world that currently have panda bear exhibits, and Adelaide is lucky enough to be the number 8. They eat a huge amount of bamboo, so it's really exciting to be able to go in there and see them just munching away at the bamboo and enjoying their environment. And it's a really important place for kids to start learning about a lot of the conservation initiatives that are being surrounded with the panda bears. The zoo also asked us to ensure that while developing this new entrance precinct, that we had no loss of biodiversity, which is quite a challenge for any development. The functions that they asked us to provide in the entrance precinct included from the admin through to a conservation centre and also a function centre so that people that came to use these facilities would have an innate understanding of the zoo and how the zoo operates. We were really intent to show that any development within a parkland space could actually be quite responsible and could actually add benefit to the environment rather than take it away. So part of those initiatives were things like the green wall, which is behind me, and also a green roof. The green roof is quite an extraordinary development because it captures the stormwater on the site and it cleanses it before it's reused for irrigation purposes. So the function space that we're standing in now is on level 1 of the building. It's a multi-use space and it can be used for any type of function. The important parts about this building is that we designed it with such a minimal palette. The palette is restricted to just concrete and timber, and the reason for doing that is because we really wanted the star of the show to be the external environment, and so that the focus was the beautiful parklands that this development sits within.